Hi friends, it's Michelle from Tape and Twine on Instagram. Welcome to my channel. If you're here today, I hope you're joining me for my cardboard box or paper box journal series where we're taking everyday food boxes and turning them into adorable journals. This is a fabulous journal project for anybody who's a beginner who's trying to get the basics of making a junk journal, or it's a terrific project for anybody who makes journals who wants to make a quick journal for their own use or for gifting. So today's the first journal that we're going to make, and we're going to turn a macaroni and cheese box similar to this. It doesn't have to be this brand, obviously, but this is the size we're looking to use. We're going to take this type of a box and we're going to turn it into this adorable journal. And we're going to do it relatively quickly. We're going to add signatures and maybe a couple pockets and embellish it a little bit. And we are going to make a journal that nobody would ever be able to tell came from such humble beginnings. So let's get started. Okay, I'm going to start with my first journal. So I have a few things, like I said, a few journals, subjects, themes that I need. And the first one is I want a planning journal for planning what kind of projects I want to do in 2022 with my paper projects, a place where I can make notes and sketch and things like that. So it is going to be journal related. So I purchased 49 Dragonflies has a really great kit called On My Desk, and it's beautiful watercolor illustrations and layering. It was a collaboration between Barbara at 49 Dragonflies and her artist friend Ray, I believe. And it's just really beautiful, and it has a lot of paper type of images. So I thought it would be perfect for a cover for this book, since this book will be, the subject of this book will be all about my planning for my journals. So I'm going to take the signatures out of my book for now, and I'm going to be left with just this simple cardboard frame now, or cover. This will be my spine, and this obviously is my cover. And I think what I want to do is I want to cover it in a way that the butterfly and the stamp are on the front cover. So I'm going to show you that I'm really going to be sort of loosey-goosey with this. This is just a working, quick type of a book. So I'm not really going to measure or do a whole lot of crazy planning. And this is really, when I tell you that this is like a really easy way to make a journal, it is a really easy way to make a journal. Now, if the journal is just for you, or you know, this is something you just want to work in, you could, literally make a journal in a couple of hours. So I just put on a bunch of glue. I'm going to actually put I put glue stick, but I'm also adding a little bit around the edges of art glitter glue. So now I'm going to sort of line it up where I think I want it. And I'm going to go just a little bit past the page. And I think I probably have a little bit of time here to sort of play around. And I think that's how I want it. So I'm going to take my bone folder, and I'm really going to press and burnish on here. And this macaroni, sorry for the noise. This macaroni box is a perfect size. So now all I'm going to do is trim this piece off here, like this. And I'm going to come in this side, and I'm sort of just going to trim it so that I can fold these pieces over. So I'm just taking a notch out of the paper because I'm going to be folding these onto the other side. And, you know, you can use scrapbook paper. You certainly don't need to purchase or download a kit. I just thought this was just a great one to use for my purposes. Look at, they're not, see, my notches aren't even great. And it's okay, I'm fine with that. So now I'm just gonna fold this in. Sorry, I'm a little froggy. Yeah, the first week of January, I got COVID. I was double vaccinated and boosted, and I still got it. And it really did a number in my sinuses, and I sound a little off now, for I'm probably damaged the inside of my sinuses, and I'll probably sound like this for a little bit. Okay, so I really like how that looks on the front. So now I'm going to put glue stick all around the edge here. And then I'm just going to fold those in. Oh, I have to do a notch here too. I forgot. You have to notch. How do I want to notch it? I think I'm going to just do this for now. Just some straight edges, and we'll see how that goes. I'm not too particular when it's a journal just for myself. And then you're going to really nicely and smoothly fold those pieces over. And, you know, I might have to do a little bit of trimming, which is fine. I'd rather have a little bit to trim than have any of the cardboard show. And here you're going to see me just folding over all the little flaps and edges. I had glue stick underneath them, and I'll come in and just trim out any of the corners that kind of, I don't like how they look, or they're folded over a little bit. I could have notched them better, but again, you're going to see in the long run, it really doesn't make any difference. As long as that paper is nicely around the edges, that's all that matters. And I can put like little metal corners there if I want to better secure it. So look at that, that's very cute, and I like that, and I like the colors, and I really like that you see little bits and pieces of paper type of thing. So I have chosen a few. I have a dark, like a, you know, like a black, and that would be okay. A little dark though. I have this color, which works super good with the color on the kit, and truth be told, probably not a piece of scrapbook paper that I will use a lot because of the color. So if I can use it in here, that might be a plus. It has some light ledger markings on it, which is cute. I have brown. I'll pass on that. I have this sort of wood. It's not quite the right color. I think I'm gonna stick with that peachy color. So this means I do need to measure something. You know, not my favorite thing to do is measure. So I think what I'm gonna do is lay it like this. And I'm gonna make a little mark where I think it makes the most sense. So I want to have like a little 1/4 inch here. And a little 1/4 inch here. So I'll make a little mark just about there. And I'll need to slice that on my cutter. All right. Now I need to see the length. All right, so if I do a 1/4 inch there, I'll need to do it about here. All right, I think that works. What I want to do now is ink the inside because it's very white where the, I didn't put it on borderless when I printed it, so it's a little bit white, so I definitely want to take that down. Now, rather than just putting it down and folding it, which will make lots of creases here, I am just going to do it a little at a time. So I'm going to ink the edge here because I think that will look good. Maybe I will go a little bit darker. And I'm a really big fan of not having to make you watch every single moment of my inking or cutting or whatever it is. So I will speed up parts like this. Okay. So now I'm going to take my art glitter glue. I'm going to put it on the edges because I really do want it to be. Actually, I'm going to put the glue stick in here. And then I'll just put a little bit of art glitter glue on top of that. Now I'm going to lay it exactly where I want it. I have a little bit of time. There's a little bit of white there, but like I said, I'm not too worried about it. This is just a journal for me. And it's just like a little take note journal of just notes and things. So, you know, if I wanted to do a more exact job, I would have printed this without the border so that I wouldn't have a white space to even be worried about. And then I'll use my bone folder to sort of work on that edge like that. And just let that dry. Okay, now I need to do the spine, so I'm just going to make sure that this fold is really good, and I'm just going to use art glitter glue for this. I want it to be really glued on well. And by doing it in sections, I won't have bubbles. Okay. And now the last part. And again, I'll be using a combination of glue stick and art glitter glue on the edges, glue stick in the middle, and just carefully gluing it in place and burnishing it so that that last back part of the corner of the cover is securely in place and nice and flush and neat. And there you have it. There's the cover. I mean, it's about as easy can be. Now, I can put a piece of lace here just to make it a little bit nicer, or a piece of textile. So let me see what I can get. So I really like the idea of putting on a piece of just muslin here. Something a little bit raw and just fits in really nicely. I don't want anything that's going to go really over the seams because I don't want to just, take away from that graphic. So I saw this little tip that Louisa Heinzel, I think, was the one who mentioned it, that if you have an old flat iron that you're not using on your hair, you can use it as a mini iron for like textiles. So I am going to just bring this through. I don't know if you can see the steam just coming up through, and I am ironing. It's such an easy way to iron trim, and it holds everything down. And voila, I am going to have a freshly ironed piece of muslin in no time flat. It literally took seconds. So my thought was, maybe instead of it being so plain, I would stamp some words and things on the muslin. So I have this Cavallini rubber stamp kit, and I am just going to, I thought it kind of went with the feeling of Barbara's kit, and I am just going to stamp the textile. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so I know I told you we weren't going to fuss a lot with this, but you know, I have to be me. I got to fuss a little bit. So I'm going to put a little bit of, I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol distress ink spray. I must be getting low here. You can also put a little bit of ink on your plastic and just add a little bit water to it. And I'm just going to like randomly put some staining on here, just so that it better blends with the kit and the fact that the kit has, you know, some like tea stained look and has that sort of vintage feel. I want to have that on my binding as well. All right, let's add a little bit more. This one is I'm living dangerously here at my desk doing that. I should get a piece of paper up if I'm going to do this, so it doesn't spray all over my desk. Let's see. All right, I think that's pretty good. So I don't want to waste all that color. So I'm going to put it on here, and I'll probably be able to use this at some point, this little wipey rag. Okay, let's clean that up and let that dry. And then we can take that and put it on here. So I can determine which part I like the best. Now, I also had the thought that if I moved this inside here like this and glued this up into here, and perhaps even sewed. Now, I never start anything really with a plan. If I sewed right here, then I could have a little bit of a bookmark, which I kind of really like. So let me see. Yeah, I kind of like that back. So let me let this dry, and then we will do that on here. So I want it to come past the book, and I'm going to put some stitches there. So what I need to do is put some Fabri-Tac down here. Now, Fabri-Tac, I do not want the Fabri-Tac to bleed through the fabric. So I'm going to rub it in with my finger so that it will catch that fabric, but it will not bleed through the fabric, or at least I hope it won't. I'll place it about and there we go. That lies nice and flat. It gives a little extra support to the spine, and I like how it looks. So now we will do the same on the back. I think the cover, personally, is the thing that I put more when I'm making a simple journal. If you're making a naked journal or journal with very few embellishments inside, the cover is really where you spend most of your time. And as you can see, this is coming together super quickly, partly because the paper that I chose to put on it already is decorated, which is kind of like a really nice thing. And if you don't have access to digitals, or you don't prefer digitals, Tim Holtz paper or any paper that already has collage on it would be great. Or if you're somebody who enjoys making master boards, you could do a master board ahead of time, or if you have a stash of master boards and put your master board on as a cover, that would make an already collaged cover. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry, then I'm going to go in on my sewing machine, and I'm just going to make 2 lines of stitches. And those 2 lines of stitches will hold this in place. It'll give it a little decoration, and then I can use that as a bookmark in my book. And it will look really cute coming out the bottom, which I really like. So let me go do that. Okay, so I've sewed it here. It's nice, and I got to trim some of these little strings, but it looks great. I think I want to stamp this side as well, because I'm going to see this side now. So I'm just going to put a little more stamping in, as I want it to match, the other side, especially if I'm using it as a bookmark. I won't go quite as crazy because this is not going to be as covered as the other one. Okay. So now I have my built-in bookmark, which I really like. Now let's talk about signatures. Get your stacks of paper that hopefully you've already folded, and let's start. So let's see if I can maybe take something from Barbara's book, Barbara's pages, and use them as covers. So let's cut this. Well, let me just use my cutting board. So as you can see, I have my 5 signatures ready to go, but I just want to add a couple of Barbara's nice papers to sort of make the inside a little bit more cohesive. So I have to trim off the edges because I didn't print them borderless, and I think I'm going to, do it the long, thin way. And they might not match up or be exactly the right length, so I'll have to trim them. And you're going to see me trim it a little bit too short because why not, I'm just not the perfectionist. I'm not the good measurer. We know this, people. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's going to look pretty good on the top of the cover. And this is just writing material inside my journal anyway. So I just like that it's going to give it a nice cohesive feeling to the whole journal. So I will end up going in and going through Barbara's papers and finding two more pieces that I really think fit the color scheme I'm going for and will be able to be trimmed in a way that I like the images that will be on the cover. And this is just regular copy paper, printer paper. It's not heavy, so it's not really cover weight. That isn't that important to me. What's more important to me is that with the 5 signatures, that I have 3 signatures that are covered in Barbara's paper and then 2 that are blank, so that when I layer them inside the journal, it just has a nice feel. I'm a lot more about the whole visual feel of the book and making sure that that theme of Barbara's kit travels throughout the book, the journal. So now I have this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, and then this one. I think those all go together great. Then I also have these little papers, and I have the offcuts that I just did. I have the little ink box, and I have that. So if you want to just make your journal even a little bit more cohesive, watch what I'm going to do. Get an old envelope, right? And glue it onto the envelope. Trim it down and then glue it in here. And yes, you'll see I swapped out the envelope and I'm just glue sticking it on. And I'm going to trim around. Like that. And I have this little tuck here. So I can put that just like that and it becomes sort of a tuck pocket and it has the envelope inside, or I can put some stitching around and glue it in so that it is a pocket and another pocket in back. I think what I'll do is I'm going to put some stitching here, which will make this a pocket, and then I'm only going to glue this and this, so then that'll be a tuck spot. Okay, so I just sewed here all the way around, see? And I'm going to trim off those little strings. I'm not usually a string trimmer, but in this particular case, I'm going to do the top ones at least. These right here, I'm just going to knot up. I can decide if I want to trim them later. And then I'm going to take my Fabri-Tac and I'm just going to put glue on like an L, one side and the bottom. And that's going to allow that to be a tuck spot in my journal. And it's also going to cover a little bit of that white edge I had at the bottom there. I should have inked it, but I will ink it once it's dry. Where's my little wipey? I find sometimes these things really need pressure to stick. I know that's way overkill, but it's the only clamp I have nearby. I don't know if I'll hold this one for a second. And then I can think about what I want over here. I could do a belly band over here. I could do a pocket. Look at, it's almost the exact same correct size. So what I could do is again get another old envelope. See what I have hanging around. I think this one might be the right size or close to it. So why don't I just glue this onto this. Be careful of that window. I don't want to glue that window down. I don't think I really want all the pen to be there, and I want a little of the peach paper to show through. Just going to fold that over. Like that, and then I'm going to cut down the envelope just like that. Let's see how it fits in there. That fits pretty good. I'm going to make a thumb hole. Kind of eyeball it. And I am going to ink this before I forget. I like that little red. It almost looks like red stitching. I'm going to stitch the two sides. So now this is stitched. I'm going to just trim off some of those. I'm going to leave probably a little bit of these on. And now this should be dry, and it is. So now I'm going to glue in this one. And I am going to not glue the middle either, so that I can make a double pocket in case I want it. Nothing too big, but maybe just some small little items. Make sure my camera there. I like how you can see that a little bit. Make sure the fold is good. Okay. So let me take a few of these things away. So let's see what we have here. We have a tuck spot right back here, a pocket right here. We have a pocket here and a pocket back here. We have a bookmark and we have a cover. Now, I don't think I need this to be this long. So I think what I'm going to do is cut it right about here. And I'll probably put some stitches there so that it doesn't fray too much. And then I was thinking about just taking a little bit of this cloth. And I'm going to trim these little pieces of fabric, and I'm going to glue them on the cover because I just think that they're going to add a little bit of extra. Barbara did a beautiful job of putting all sorts of elements all over her papers, but I'm going to add a few of my own just so that it's a little bit more three-dimensional. As you can see, you don't have to do any of this. You can just simply take the cover and cover it one side with scrapbook paper, the other side with scrapbook paper, and your cover would be done. You could just jump right to signatures. If we just covered it, we would have had a simple cover made in 20 minutes. I'm fussing with it because I'm going to be using this all year and I want it to look somewhat cute. And I don't know, it's just fun to zhuzh it up. But really, it's unnecessary, right? Especially if you use some really pretty papers. You really don't need to do all of this. Okay. So now we have our signatures, which will fit in just like that. And I can take the bookmark and just sort of place it between. Oh, I did not think about that. because the no-sew binding is going to come over this. If I just sew them in, it'll be fine, but a no-sew binding wraps, and if I wrap it, I won't be able to use this, and I want to use this. So I think I'm going to have to sew these in, which wasn't my intent, but I do like the idea of this, and I like the idea of it coming down into the book like that. So I guess I am going to have to hand sew these, which will take me a little bit of time in addition to what I wanted to do. But since I'll be working in this book all year, I will make the effort. While I thought I had the camera on during the sewing in of the signatures, I actually did not. So I will put a link below for how to sew in signatures. However, future videos in this series will do a no-sew binding. So when those come out, you can look at your options. Okay, so I bound it, and friends, look, I'm not ever going to say that I am the master binder. I have some kind of crooked holes here. This is why I don't do a lot of measuring, because even though I really tried hard, I still did not make like an awesome job here. But it's okay, because this is just for me, and I'm all right with it. So now I just want to add a few extra touches. I kind of like this little piece of fabric I put in here. I need a little bit more glue, but I want to put a couple little embellishments on the front, because even though this is a journal that is just for me and is not meant to be perfect, I still want it to be cute. I mean, you know, I'm not a barbarian. So I'm going to grab some buttons. I might want a wooden button. That might be cute. Or maybe a nice little shiny shell button. That's a cute color. Of course, there is no, I was going to sew it on, but I guess I don't really need to sew it on, but I really like that. So I think originally I was going to sew it on, but I don't actually need to, because this particular piece doesn't have anything, but I want it to look sewn on. So I'm going to grab my awl, whatever that ended up. And I think I'm going to actually, let's see here, if I glue this there, I might want a little bit of, I'm just going to make 2 holes, as if it were a button that could be sewed on. Actually, I could put something cute in there too, but I'm just going to go in a couple of times so it looks sewn. Like that. And I'm going to tie that. Like that. And then I'm going to take a generous amount of Fabri-Tac. I'm going to glue that puppy right on there. I think the maroon kind of plays off the colors right there. I think I'm going to need to put my clamp on there to really make sure it stays on. Let's see what kind of book plate I want. This isn't a really fancy journal, so maybe I just want a little one like that. Don't have one much smaller than that. Well, do I have a little one that says art? Which is very cute. Or do I just go with a plain one that says ideas. I think that's what I want to do. So again, the process of this book is really just taking a simple cardboard cover and making it cute. Now, do I need to do all these things like add some sewing and then add a button and add a nameplate, a book plate? No, I don't need to do any of that. But I do want to do it because, you know, I'm going to be using this journal all year, and even though I don't need it to be perfect, I want it to be cute. So I am doing things like adding a book plate on it, and you saw me do that with some Fabri-Tac. And now I'm going to take a little of that peach paper that's on the inside, and I'm going to stamp the word ideas on it, trim it down, and throw it in the book plate, because ultimately when we're making a journal, part of the process should be easy, it should be affordable, but it also should be fun. And I think making these little details are the part that makes the fun of the journal. You know, and originally when I was going to start this video, I wasn't going to do all these details, but then you kind of get carried away. So yes, do you need to see all of these little details? Probably not. But, you know, it is my process, and I think it's definitely something that I want to share with you so you know how I got to the end result. Okay. And then last but not least, let's see what else I could do, even though this is just a simple little journal. In my pocket there. Is there anything else I want to do? I have this little bit of textile left. I'm just wondering if I want to do a couple tabs. And thinking of tabs inspires me to grab a handful of tickets from my desk. So I end up getting a handful of raffle tickets, you know, just cheap raffle tickets, nothing special. But I think they kind of go with the theme. They're kind of cute. I'm not using my best supplies on a journal that I'm just going to be working and taking notes in. And I just fold them in half, and I use a stapler to staple them on. I mean, you can't get much easier than that. So I have 5 signatures. I will stagger 5 different tickets so that the tabs stick out from the book. I'll end up inking them off camera so that you don't have to see that. And in the end, I really like the look of them on the book because it's a little bit industrial and at the same time a little bit quirky, and another material that goes well with the theme of the book and the graphics of the book. So here we are. Here's the final macaroni and cheese box. Even though I said that I'm not bothered by a binding that isn't straight, all right, I'm a little bothered by it. So I took some stamps and threaded them through and glued them. And this way, you can't even tell they're not straight. It looks very intentional. It adds a little boost of color on the spine. So I did that. This is dry now, the nameplate. This is dry. I added a stamp on the back. And then let's take a quick look inside. Let me zoom out just a little bit. So inside we have a pocket in here and then a tuck spot back here. There was a little bit of sewing from where I added this here. So I put this old vintage hat pin, which I thought was just kind of fun. As you saw, I stapled the tabs onto the side here. I put a little bit of ink to make them a little grungier. And as you can see, I have my 5 signatures. I've just put a few little paper clips in there, some of the scraps from the project I included. I have a little paper bag that I glued in, and again, some scraps. And then in the back, we have this pocket in the front, which I've put in paper from the project, and then we have an additional pocket behind that red piece right there. And it makes a great little journal. I have the little piece that comes down the middle. I trimmed most of the strings, but I have a few sticking up, and I added a little clip. From the back, I think it looks cute. I'm happy with the way the front came out. Barbara's kit just makes for such an easy cover. And just the little end papers inside with some of those details from her kit just really make a cute project, don't you think? I mean, this really, in all actuality, took me, I don't know, an hour and a half to make. The papers itself getting together probably would take maybe an hour to cut, but again, if you're doing really plain papers. So this is an afternoon or a morning, and I will use this all year. Now, I did intend for this to be a no-sew, so I promise, that this next one will be a no-sew. So here's the two things. I am going to make this an idea book for this year, and then I am going to make this one into something that goes with this. So I'm going to continue to use this kit, and I will do a no-sew binding, which will mean that this goes even faster. So this was my macaroni and cheese box journal. Tune in for the next video I will post. I will do the cracker box journal. See you later, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this video to be helpful, interesting, or inspirational, I hope you will like it, and I would love for you to subscribe. It helps my channel, and I really would love for you to join me for the next project. Take care. Bye.